The Unseen Whisper. Chapter 1. The Familiar Walls. "20 years have passed since I stepped foot into this house, yet the scent of freshly baked cookies and worn leather armchairs still lingered in the air. My twin brother Alex and I, Emma, stood at the entrance, hesitating before crossing the threshold into our childhood home. Our parents' passing had left us adrift, each clinging to fragmented memories as anchors against the raging tide of grief. But now, we found ourselves returning to this haven, seeking solace in familiar walls and faded photographs. The old Victorian mansion loomed before us, a silent sentinel guarding secrets beneath its ivy-strewn facade. Our hands were stained with dust from the road, our eyes welling up as nostalgia tugged at heartstrings long unstrung. Lifting our faces, we exchanged wary glances, unsure of what awaited us here. The years seemed to have stood still. The furniture remained unchanged, the faded floral patterns on the wallpaper a testament to time's indifference. Our parents' passing had left an immeasurable void. Every creaking floorboard and muffled conversation felt like trespassers in their domain. Each step reverberated with memories we'd rather forget but couldn't escape. The living room held its breath as we settled into our old beds, the faded quilt beneath us a comforting reminder of better times. Our mother would often spin tales of whispers from beyond the attic door, tales that whispered secrets and brimmed with danger. Her voice had been laced with both fear and awe then. Now they only fueled a mounting unease. In the dead of night, after an exhausting day of settling in, I woke to an unsettling shiver that trickled down my spine as if an unseen presence brushed against my neck. Emma was already up, the moonlight tracing her silhouette through her window. She whispered from her room, "I heard a noise in the attic." I threw off the quilt and crept toward her door. She flung it open, eyes wide. "We shouldn't have come back here." A chill wind swept through me as we approached the locked door that had been sealed shut since childhood, a relic from our mother's mysterious stories. It resisted our efforts to turn until Emma's hands trembled with an unnatural strength and it yielded to us. Dust motes danced in the faint moonlight, coating wooden trunks that seemed untouched since time itself. The attic space was cramped, heavy with the weight of years. Musty air clung to relics of a forgotten era. Old books, faded photographs, and tattered clothing that once adorned our shoulders. A collection of black dot and white portraits hung from rusty hooks, faces I didn't recognize. Our mother had often spoken of great grandmother Ruth, her tales laced with an unspoken urgency. I picked up a photograph. She gazed at us with eyes both familiar and foreign. Emma traced the edge of the frame. "Do you think it's safe to be here?" Her voice was barely audible over the distant wind. The room held its breath as if listening to our conversation. Chapter 2. The Whispers in the Walls. Emma pulled out a small key hidden beneath her pillow, an heirloom passed down through generations of women in our family, allegedly meant for this very door. As it clicked open with a satisfying click, a stale air escaped and a whisper breathed by, carrying us into a chamber frozen in time. The room was a shrine to memories we had never witnessed yet knew intimately. A collection of aged photographs showed a life lived long before we were born. Our grandmother Ruth, her husband Silas, and their daughter Abigail. Emma's eyes were riveted on the picture of Abigail, an eerie smile stretching across her face. We heard whispers from the shadows as the door closed behind us. A sense of unease settled like a shroud as the room seemed to swallow our footsteps. Old letters penned in blue ink spoke of love and despair. Ruth's handwriting painted vivid pictures. Silas, a man consumed by an addiction that destroyed their marriage and eventually took Abigail from them. I pulled out the photograph of Ruth alone. Her eyes bore witness to a grief I couldn't understand. The letters ended abruptly, with Ruth's final entry speaking of silence and an unseen presence. Emma turned the last page. This is our great-grandmother's story. Yet, as we left, a draft brushed against my neck, icy fingers tracing my spine. In the night that followed, we found one of Abigail's photographs torn from the wall. Each day brought inexplicable changes. Books fell, pictures slid off hooks, and I felt watched despite being alone in our rooms. Emma would join me later with her research, our shared grief bonding us to this enigmatic history. As she took up residence beneath those attic pages, a sense of purpose filled our hollowed lives. Shadows lengthened as the sun set on our second day back home. Emma entered my room, face pale and eyes darkened by fatigue yet determination. Read this. A letter dated 1923 spoke of Ruth's desperation, an unseen entity that manipulated Abigail. Their daughter was found dead, hanged in her bed, a rope bruising the soft skin around her neck. Our family has always been haunted, she said, voice trembling with a mix of fear and fascination. We ventured into town, unearthing local news clippings. Abigail's death labeled as suicide. Yet Ruth insisted it was murder. We couldn't reconcile the two versions of truth. Emma's room was now a shrine to our research. Photographs, journals, each page telling a story from the other side of sanity. The attic held its breath until the third night, when I awoke to an unseen presence in my room, an icy hand on my shoulder. In the morning light, a note on my dresser bore Abigail's name and a message. Tell them. Emma believed it was Ruth. Her voice trembled as she read aloud. The Whispering Woman. We decided then that enough mysteries had been buried. The house would yield its secrets. The attic door creaked open of its own accord, beckoning us to uncover a truth long concealed by their silence. Shadows stretched longer each night, fingers tracing my spine, and an incessant whisper seeped into our dreams. Chapter 3. The Final Whisper. In the heart of the room, a dusty journal revealed Ruth's desperate quest for answers after Abigail's death. An unseen figure watched us from the attic door, eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. We'd finally woken something long dormant. The letter spoke of Silas' addiction and Ruth's despair, yet also a figure at Abigail's window, watching, waiting. A chill wind swept through on the last night, rustling pages. In the morning, Emma yanked me out of bed as an unseen force slammed shutters, spilling light into our room. She had dug up more than we anticipated. Newspaper clippings spoke of a suspect, Silas, accused but never convicted due to lack of evidence. The whispers turned audible, a raspy voice speaking Abigail's name, echoing off walls and seeping through the floorboards. Confronting the truth was our only way back home. In broad daylight, we unearthed Silas' room, a shrine to his addiction. Emma found the old locket. It opened to reveal a newspaper clipping, a crime scene photo of Abigail's corpse. The door slammed shut behind us as we descended, the attic dark once more. We dared look up to see an unblinking gaze from the floor above. In our living room, we pieced together what had transpired. Ruth didn't kill Abigail. She witnessed Silas hang her in his grief and guilt. But who else? The door slammed shut behind us, locked and bolted as if the house wanted those truths buried deep. A single knock on our door was all it took for us to understand. We were meant to be here to unravel a thread of silence woven by generations. We had always been drawn to an unseen presence, and now it sought justice. Ruth's story was a plea for peace, for freedom from the shackles of what she witnessed that fateful night.